What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Club and Country. This is episode number 39. We start today's episode by officially ending Season 3, our first year in the Championship. 10th place, a top 10 finish in the second tier of the English football pyramid. I mean, I'll take it. I kept on saying last season, sneaking into the playoffs, that would be great, but possibly a little bit unrealistic to expect that in our first year in the Championship, especially because of how we know ultimately it's a lot more difficult this year. But to start a new season off, I thought, do you know what? Like, this is another RTG I'm doing for FIFA CM right now. I want to upgrade my stadium. You know, obviously been playing at Town Park for the first 3 seasons, but I wanted to upgrade my stadium, not build a new one, you know, not move into a new stadium, but upgrade the current stadium. So yeah, I didn't fill in the corners, but I put roofs on all of the stands now. So we've got 4 stands. They're not symmetrical. One's a bit bigger than the other one. I think the west stand, if you will. But even so, we put roofs on all the stands now, and we've upgraded that capacity by 10,000. I thought, you know, it's probably a bit more of a realistic upgrade than moving into like a 60,000 seater stadium. But still, following that, as you can see, we'd see our budget for the new season, for Season 4. We got around £5.5 million after the Dylan Levitt loan deal expired. Obviously, he was taking up a huge chunk of our wage bill. We got around £5.5 million to work with in Season 4, so I kind of like that as well. It's actually less than we got, than last season. Last season we got a budget of around 6 mil, but this year it's lower than that, and I think it's because we've got players on higher contracts. You know, as you know, Ben Davies is still here earning a higher wage. We've upgraded the contracts of certain players such as Gavin Humphreys, Rabi Matondo came in. Obviously, as we know, last season Dylan Levitt was here on loan as well. He had a high weekly wage too, so I think that's probably the reason why. For realism, I'm going to say a chunk of our budget was taken out on upgrading the stadium, putting roofs on all of the stands and expanding the capacity of the actual ground itself. I know it probably isn't due to that, but that's the realism that I'm going to pretend is what happened there. But still, as I run you through the squad for Season 4 and our second season in the Championship, very excited for this, but you would have seen it as a 3.5-star team. It is a good side. I'd say we're an average team in the Championship. I was quite surprised to see the objectives this year. Now, last season, again, we finished in the top 10. Very decent season. I was more than happy enough with that for our first year in the Championship. But this season, reached the last 16 of the FA Cup. We haven't even got to the last 32 of the FA Cup since the series began, but reached the last 16 of the Cup, but gained automatic promotion to the Premier League. Really? I mean, look, it's great to be ambitious, don't get me wrong. As you see, several players, their deals are coming the end of the year, and you'll notice all of these players, some noteworthy ones too, such as Alan Bound, our star goalkeeper, Price as well. All of these guys got contract apart from Watkins. He's the young holding mid here who hasn't had a game yet. I think I'm probably just going to sell him in the first season. He's sub 60 overall, so can't check his potential yet. I don't think he's going to make the grade here. But Ben Davies as well. Another 1-year extension for Ben Davies. I thought he was going to retire at the end of the season. He's now 31 years old, but he wants to stay on with Newport County. A slight wage increase to 15 grand a week. Ben Davies stays for an extra year. He wants to get Newport County to the Premier League. But yeah, the board's saying, speaking of, gain automatic promotion to Premier League. Look, it's great to be ambitious, don't get me wrong. It's great to have those strong objectives, but that's going to be incredibly tough. This is a tough division, as we found out last season. We couldn't even make the playoffs last year. This year, we've got to bypass those and get into the top 2. I mean, look, I'll give it my best shot, don't get me wrong, but because of Ultimate being so much more difficult this year, I'm not targeting that. I'm targeting another top 10 finish or the playoffs. If we could finish in the top 2, that would be the dream. But come on, man. Like, sometimes you just got to be a bit realistic. I don't think, to me, that's going to happen this year. I'll give it my best shot, as always, but it's going to be incredibly tough. Still, as per usual, we start the season off. We obviously showed the transfer list there. Several players I'm willing to sell this year. A lot of reserve players who, quite frankly, don't get much game time, and they don't really have much need to be in this squad here. Obviously, when you're playing 46 games a season, you've got the cup games as well, you do want a thick enough squad, but there are certain players here who last season barely played, such as Tom Pugh, for example. I was fine accepting this offer from a former Club and Country team, which I thought was really cool, Paris FC. Pablo Martinez as well, another player I'm willing to part ways with this season, and a big bid for Brandon Cooper as well. You saw me reject 2 for Lloyd Payne earlier. I'm going to keep him here. He's lost his captain's armband to Gavin Humphreys, injuries, but a 76 overall and 24 years old. He's one of the best players in this team, so I'm not going to sell him. Obviously, if we are to make a big signing this season, like a Rabi Matondo, who we got last year, we will need to sell some players. That's why I've put so many on the transfer list right now. But the only good thing is, as I always check the free agents pool on the first day of the new season, I found 2 players on freeze. And guys, I need your opinions on this. Is this guy Gareth Bale's regen? Yes or no? Because he's not a left-footed player, he's a right-footed player. But he is a right mid, he's absolutely rapid. His name is Mark Bound, he's Alan's brother. And I just don't know. No, he shows great potential. He's got the RM and RW listed positions. It seems as though surely he is Gareth Bale's regen. But again, with the pace, with the technical prowess already at just 18 years old, he is a right-footed player. Bale did just retire, to be fair, so I'm going to assume it is Gareth Bale's regen. I don't know what it is, though. He just doesn't seem like Bale's regen. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure what it is exactly, but despite a really good starting overall at just 18 years old, I don't know what it is. I genuinely don't know. So, yeah, your opinions, guys. Is that Gareth Bale's regen, or is it just a random new gen created into the game? I'm not 100% sure. For now, we'll say he is Gareth Bale's regen, but I guess only time will tell whether he actually is or not. Still, there was another player available on a free transfer, and it's a really good snap-up as well. Reece Norrington-Davies. This is the former Sheffield United left-back who had several loan spells away from Bramwell Lane. He was released in the summer. He's 25 years old, so in the prime of his career right now, and a really good, handy squad player to have. High medium work rates. He's got good stamina already. I'm going to give him the defensive wing-back development plan, because I'll get the defensive work rate up to high, as you know. I love high work rates on all of my wide players. So Norrington-Davies, great snap up there. You know, very quick, very good defensively. Can offer something when going forward as well. And really good stamina too. Just like with Bale's regen, I think I'll have him coming off the bench to begin with because I really like Tony Matthews. He's 7 years younger. And he's only a rating lower as well. So I think Matthews will continue to start. But we've got Norrington-Davies on the bench. That gives us more quality in squad depth, which is going to be really important if we are to be competitive in our aims of getting up to the Premier League for next season, which again, I think is a very tough ask of us. Still falling out, we do it for Butler, which we accepted. Pablo Martinez was sold though. We agreed to deal with Dunkirk, so he's off there, totally fine with that. And also Butler got sold to Hartberg as well. So having a bit of a clear out of players who are in the low 60s for overall, that are in their 20s now as well. Like, these guys are squad players, they're on really low wages, so there's no negative to keeping them. They give us the squad depth. But I really feel as though, like, it all adds up. Do you know what I mean? Like, all the weekly wages, even though they're low individual wages, they all add up collectively to give us a weekly wage deficit, which, quite frankly, isn't worth it. If they're not going to get really any game time other than a few cup games here and there, there's no real point keeping them. I'd rather get a little bit of money, get their salary off the books, and potentially, if we do get some money for these guys, again, even if the deals are only like £300,000, £400,000, it might not seem like a lot, but again, it all adds up. If we get an extra couple million in our budget, that will give us the chance of potentially signing a good new player to come in for Newport County. So yeah, a bit of a haul, a bit for Dan Hawkins as well, and also one for Ryan Astley as well, the former Toffee who was released last season. We snapped up with a free transfer. We managed to agree a great sale as well, 3.5 mil through Tret. Now he does have some okay potential. Having said that, we've got an abundance of centre halves here, and we look at the ones we've got. Obviously, you know, Taylor, Cooper, and of course Lloyd Payne. Those are our starting three. Astley's on the bench, but even the youngster we bought in a free transfer last season, Tony Don, he's only a rating lower, so if we can get 3.5 mil for Ryan Astley, that to me would be a really good sale. Now there was a huge bid for Rabi Matondo, 21.2 mil from AZ Alkmaar, but I decided to turn it down. He was the second highest scorer in the championship last year behind another fellow Welsh player, Harry Wilson from Fulham. I am going to convert this guy to centre forward. Do you remember last season for like 6 months I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Do I play him as a winger or do I train him to a striker? Well, in the end, I'm doing neither. I'm going to train him to a centre forward just because to train him as a striker it would take over 90 weeks, but to train him to a centre forward it'll only take 34. And because of the formation we're playing, we can adjust the position as Hawkins goes to Saudi Arabia here. We can adjust the position and play him as a natural centre forward. So that'll get rid of the exclamation mark and also give him temporary attribute increases. as well. So yeah, I'll trade centre forward. I think, to be honest, like the reason why, and I kept talking about it, I didn't want to commit to him being striker long term as Ryan Astley goes for 3.5 mil to Utrecht here, is because of the future of Alan Bound. But as we know, despite having potential to be special, he just hasn't developed much. And last season, I think he got like 4 or 5 goals. It was limited game time, to be fair. He did have a big injury during the season, but Matondo was just so good last year. And Bound could be great in the future, but he's got such a long way to go. I'd rather loan him out for a couple of years, get him some first team football, and in the meantime, saying to Rabbi, that first team striker job is yours. So yeah, that's going to be my thinking going into this season. Train Matondo as a striker. I should have done it last season. Striker or centre forward, wanted to. I didn't do it. Should have bit the bullet. Regret it. One of those things. But even so, now I'm definitely going to do that. So as August arrives, I'm sending my scout out for 9 months once again. We're going to look for a technically gifted type of player. I always mention it. I rarely ever specify a type of player I want from my youth scout, but look for a technically gifted type of player. I'm just thinking because Ben Davies in his 30s, he's not going to be in this first 11 forever. At some point, he's going to retire or start to show signs of decline as annoyingly Alan Bound's loan deal falls through here. So I think we could do like a new deep line playmaker in this team for the long term. So that's what I'm going to look for with my scout this year. But also moving forward, we're just over 9 million our budget now after all the sales combined with our starting budget. Now, I am going to look for a new centre-back. I said last season we had one of the worst defensive records in the division, despite a top 10 finish. So to me, I think we need a new centre-half. There are 4 names on the shortlist: Ben Capango, Chris Metham, Joe Rodden, and Ethan Mpadu as well. I think for now, they're all still slightly out of my price range, but I guess we'll have to wait and see if we can raise a bit more money. Still following that first game of the season, I can't believe it! We're not in our new stadium. But it's not called Rodney Parade. This is Town Park. It's the same generic stadium, but we've lost our name. So first game of the season, I was excited to play in our new stadium, or I should say our upgraded stadium, and it's not been upgraded. We're still playing at the same generic ground, but it's now not called Rodney Parade, it's called Town Park. So I'm going to assume that we're going to move into our new stadium at some point. I say new stadium, our upgraded stadium at some point during the season. I'm going to assume that for now, we're ground sharing somewhere. Like, we're ground sharing somewhere and we're waiting for the stadium expansion to be completed before we can move back home to Rodney Parade. Because, again, this isn't called Rodney Parade. This is the generic Town Park. So I'm going to assume for now, we're ground sharing whilst the renovations get completed. I'm really hoping I haven't ballsed this up and we'll be stuck at this stadium for another year and it's just called Town Park. I'm going to assume at the moment we're ground sharing. For some reason, it still looks like Rodney Parade, but and then we'll move back home, I should say, to Rodney Parade. Hopefully, at some point during the season. I'm not sure how it works. It's my first time doing stadium upgrades in FIFA Career, and I'm hoping I haven't completely mucked it all up. Still, it's the Borough, first game of the season at Town Park, our ground-sharing stadium, and we fell 2 goals behind very early. Really, really poor. And I talked about the need for a new centre-back last season. This is why. I can't defend. I really, really can't defend on this year's FIFA. It's so difficult. We know that when you play 6-minute halves, the games are just goal gluts, and whilst I back myself to score, I need a new centre-back. One of those 4 I showed you there, I've got to get one of them. I've got to raise the cash to get at least one of them before now and the end of the summer transfer window. But like I said, whilst I can't defend, I can score. We got back in the game through Gavin Humphreys, and then 8 minutes after the restart, Rabbi Matondo. Yeah, I should have done this last season. I'm sorry, I regret it. It was a waste, a total waste last season, not putting him on that development plan. By now, he could have completed the transition, but even so, yeah, he's now going to become a centre forward in this team, and he scored our second goal to battle back from 2 goals down to level it. However, 5.5 minutes to go, I saw this coming. We know late goals are so prevalent in this year's FIFA. There is another one. The Borough win it right towards the end of the game. Really action-packed match. We start the season off ground sharing somewhere in South Wales with a loss on the opening night, 3-2 at home to the Borough. Yeah, the board say automatic promotion, but I'm going to say to the board, look, just calm yourselves down, alright? I'll take another top 10 finish or sneaking into the playoffs at the very, very best. It's going to be another tough season, no doubt about it, but this is FIFA CM on Ultimate. You can't expect anything less. But that will end today's episode of Club and Country, guys. Massive thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of C and C very soon.